All right. Hey, folks, we're live. And Derrick, thank you very much for joining me here. And uh, quite an honor to have you. And Derrick, for those of you who may not be aware of who you are, or know that you ran for mayor, or know that you've got, among other things, a documentary written about you, tell them about you.
Yes, and that's going to one of the summer film festivals. I don't recall which exact one, but I do know that it's entered into one of the film festivals for the summer.
Wow. But how did you are, uh, I describe you as a homeless advocate. I've described you as a candidate for mayor. But tell those who may not know about you, who may be watching this from Bangladesh, who's Derek Soo?
For a lot of people that don't know me, uh, my family goes all the way back to 1850 here in the Bay Area. We originally started in San Francisco. My great grandfather, Lou Hing, uh, came over as a young teenager with $20 in his pocket to help his brother here in San Francisco making tin cans. And he did that for some time. And then what ended up happening, his brother went back to China to visit the family, ended up drowning and dying off the coast of Japan.
Oh no.
And so my great grandfather was left here as a 14-year-old, all by himself in the San Francisco Chinatown, in charge of this tin can making business. And so he worked during the day making the cans to make sure that that can business stayed afloat. At night, he went to missionary school to learn English, and that's what gave him the leg up in America, because he was able to speak English. And through that 1906 earthquake, uh, we already had a cannery that was just completed here in the city of Oakland, West Oakland, the Pacific Coast Cannery, which is now the PC Lofts. And that's what it was turned into. But during that time, there was a lot of racism back then, and in fact, San Francisco wanted to do away with the San Francisco Chinatown at the time, and expelled a majority of the Chinese people that were living there, which were mostly men, because at the time the racism didn't allow Chinese women to come in unless they were married to the man, and that was the only way. And my great grandfather provided for the Chinese community after the 1906 earthquake and the forced removal out of San Francisco here in Oakland. And that's what created the Oakland Chinatown at 8th and Webster.
Hmm.
Our cannery actually bought those 4 blocks and owned that up until the 1950s. And we were a very powerful family. My grandfather was a speaker of Chinatown back then, kind of much like Carl Chan is today. That was my grandfather, Thomas Liu.
Yeah.
And so I have pictures of him. Very powerful person, very influential. So uh, we mostly created the Chinese community in Oakland. My great grandfather was also one of the most hated people by not only our rival Chinese groups, but also by white America, especially Piedmont.
Hmm.
Piedmont was created right after my great grandfather's cannery purchased the property on Santa Clara Avenue. And 1907, that's when the city of Piedmont incorporated to keep us out, because my great grandfather had destroyed a covenant, a white covenant that was in place on Santa Clara Avenue at the time. How he did that was that he bought a vacant piece of property across the street from all the homes, and then put up the homes that he wanted, which was excluded from the covenant because the covenant only covered the homes that were built at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, my great grandfather was is considered one of the most rich and wealthy Chinese Americans at the time, and even today, his wealth is beyond compare. But because of the time and the racism that was in place, Chinese could not own businesses with property. We could have a business, but we could not own the property or building. But yet my great grandfather owned the building because we had a lot of white lawyers and a lot of white stockholders. And so what he did was present the company as a white company, not as a Chinese-owned company, even though a lot of people knew it was Chinese-owned. And then shortly after that, World War I broke out, and that's where the wealth for the family came in, because we were the only cannery in the United States that was interested in supplying all the food to Belgium, the restoration of Belgium at the time. And that was the smaller contract over the food that was required for the restoration of Europe, which we had the main contract. And so that's where the family wealth came into. And then by the 20s, racism and my great grandfather was so high profile that the United States could not tolerate that anymore. And so what they did, they just legalized him, or browbeat him into the ground, taking all of his businesses without any compensation. I mean, literally stole all of the family wealth.
Jeez.
The only thing that our family was able to hang on to were the 5 homes that were built on Santa Clara Avenue in Oakland. And that was because it was in a bank in Hong Kong, not in the United States. Our headquarters was in Hong Kong. So we were on the British pound during the Depression. And so while the United States government tried very relentlessly to acquire those titles from the bank in Hong Kong, the British government stepped up and said, no, this is British property. This is the British bank. We are denying your claim. And so that's how we were able to hold on to that until 1941, when the actual regulations changed. And so Chinese and Asian folks were able to own property. The only people that were able to own property at the time were the Japanese, but then you saw what happened to them at the war. And so the titles of the homes, the 5 homes on Santa Clara Avenue, did not go into our family names until 1946. But our families lived in those homes under the premise that was Pacific Coast Cannery property. And then once it was no longer Pacific Coast Cannery property, it was British rule property.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And so that's the story on the family. But we have experience assisting communities, building communities, supporting communities. My great grandfather was looking at almost 14,000 Chinese from San Francisco to not only feed, but to house and keep hygiene. And that's where the cannery really stepped up. And in order to keep a lot of the people, he hired people that could cook, and they became the cooks for the crisis at the time. And then the family association bought 4 city blocks, which was bare at the time. Nobody wanted them because at the time, right where the freeway is right now, that was stockyards. Live animals were there, and they slaughtered them just right there on the other side, not too far. And the reason why is because the estuary's there. The blood drains into the water. All the blood guts, things they use that you can't do now. That's what they did back then.
Right.
And so it was an undesirable area because of the stench, but yet the Chinese people, we created a lot of new dishes from the rejects from those slaughter yards.
Hmm.
And so a lot of dishes are unique to the Oakland Chinatown because of that.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of family history here. And,
Hey,
you
Derek,
know,
what dishes, just out of curiosity, what dishes, just for the record?
there were a lot of dishes with uh, what we call chitlins now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the intestines, and there's a lot of dishes that are still enjoyed here in Oakland that's served because it's an Oakland dish,
Hmm.
in the Chinatown. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that I knew in the Oakland Chinatown are deceased now, unfortunately, because it's
Yeah.
I don't
So
go
wait,
there
you're
as much
telling
as I
me that
used
soul
to.
food is also Chinese food?
Yes, and Chinese food,
Wow.
soul food.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great dishes that came out of the Oakland Chinatown. I remember dishes that I can't find now because those restaurants are no longer there.
That would be an interesting restaurant to develop. But hey, I don't want to go. We'll talk about that for another time.
Yeah.
Tell folks about how you came to be where you're at, basically. I
What
know.
what ended up happening to me was I worked for the government, the Department of Defense, for 20 years in counterterrorism. So I did a lot of different things, a lot of dangerous jobs, dangerous work. I carried a gun. I've been carrying a gun since I was 24. And it's all legal. I have a federal firearms concealed carry weapons license. So, and at the time when I worked for a DOD, if I had to take a regular commercial flight, which was rare because of my rank, uh, you know, I went on with my gun. I had a special check-in process, and they escorted me to my seat on the plane, and then I'm free to go on the plane, and I essentially act as an air marshal
Huh.
because when I was on the plane, I carried my service weapon. I carried a very light load because of the requirements, for airline, but I still had my 9 millimeter, or I could carry my 45. 45 was a lot more difficult to carry concealed, but it's interesting. You sit down in a plane, first class, you're up near the front, and then you take off your jacket, and people see your gun on you, and it gets people kind of nervous. And
Ouch.
then they see your credential on your belt along with your, and they say, "Oh, you're an air marshal?" No, I'm not an air marshal. And then they look at, well, what department do you work for? I said, Department of Defense. Don't worry, the airplanes are my thing. And so I was there until 2007. I was retired because the agency that I was in charge of was being eliminated. Uh, and a lot of programs were. So I was retired under George Bush Jr., the yeah,
W.
GW.
W.
Yeah, W.
Yeah.
W.
W.
And so I went into retirement, bought a property out in North Carolina, moved out there on High Rock Lake, a beautiful $500,000 home that I got for $105,000 because
Wow.
the time it was crazy. People were losing their homes left and right. Out there, that home sat empty for 2 years, and the bank wanted to get rid of it, at any cost. And my realtor said, make a ridiculous offer and see if they take it. I made a ridiculous offer, and they took it. I gave them $60,000 down on $105,000 loan. So my
You
monthly
made
payment was
made
about
off like a
250.
bandit.
Yeah, it was about $250 was my mortgage.
Wow.
And then a few months passed on my just about my birthday in February of 2008. Turn on the TV that morning, and lo and behold, my investment company, Smith Barney, was top of the news. Also, along with what was that? Washington Mutual,
Hmm.
and also Citibank had filed for bankruptcy.
Oh.
And so all of a sudden I knew I'm in a shitload of trouble, because that was 3.25 million that I just watched vaporize in front of me. And all the money that I had was $6,000 in a local checking account in a local bank there in North Carolina. And I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm bankrupt. And so I ended up losing a lot of stuff. And I did make it back here to the Bay Area. Had a job temporarily. That didn't work out. My dad took me in for because he heard that I was homeless, and he said, and we had our differences. My dad and I, we had to have a good talk, because he didn't agree with my work, what I did for a living, and um, he was very anti-military, even though he served in the military, but because he's Buddhist, he's nonviolent.
Mm-hmm.
And so we mended our differences, and he understood what I did and why I did. And shortly after that, he had a stroke,
Oh.
and he ended up going in the hospital. And my sister took over the care. My sister and I, we didn't get along. We never got along. We're one of those households where they say the kids fight like cats and dogs. That was us. It was always something. We but I can tell you that I was still the favorite of the family, and probably that instigated a lot of the hatred from my sister. To this day, we don't speak. And we're better off staying apart, and not contacting each other.
Wow. I'm sorry.
And that's just the way it is. And I knew that was what ended up happening. I saw happening because my parents refused to put together a will or a trust to save the home, because the home, both the parents said, don't ever sell this home in case you or any of your children need a place. There will always be a place for them. That was my parents' request,
Hmm.
and my sister did not honor that. She
Oh
just
no.
she just let the court take the house, sell it for 135,000. She pocketed that and went on her merry way.
Jeez.
So that's how I became homeless, because she literally stole the family home out from under me and sold it. And shortly after that, I ended up on the street because she had me evicted from the family home.
Oh.
And I ended up in Crossroads shelter at 75th and International here in East Oakland for 91 days. They found me housing with a slumlord. Her name is Elizabeth Williams. She's been in the Oakland news a lot as a slumlord for bribing city inspectors, having them on her payroll. I mean, she's a piece of work. And then when she showed up for the rent, she carried a gun illegally. Yeah. So these that's what the homeless and low income families are struggling with. People that take advantage of them, people like that. She's a second generation slumlord. She's just been living off of her family's labors of the past, and she has a 600-acre ranch in San Martin.
Whoa.
Yeah, 600 acre.
Six.
Yeah, she's practically the whole city. And there are a lot of people that take advantage of the homeless because they know we can't fight back. We can't afford an attorney. We may have some issues mentally, addiction issues, or anything else. Or some may not even just have the education. Where when she ran up against me, that's where things really get difficult, because
Mhm.
I'm educated, and I'm not some dummy who didn't get a GED.
Right.
And I was a force to be reckoned with rather than deal with me on the problem that she had at this unit, or this,
Hmm.
it used to be a single family home that she converted into 8 units. She had the Oakland City inspector on her payroll, and he rewired everything but didn't add the safety feature, which is 1 meter per unit. It was 1 meter for all 8 units. That
Wow.
means that, and that was only a 100 amp service box, meaning that the particular electrical service was from the 60s. So it was a fire hazard waiting to happen. And then, but underneath, the sewer line underneath my apartment broke in the summer, or
Hmm.
yeah, in the summer, and I tolerated it until I got evicted in February of the next year. And that's because she wouldn't fix it. I said, I'm going to go to the health department on this. And then next thing you know, next day, Alameda County Sheriff's Department's posting an eviction notice on my door. I didn't get a hearing.
Hmm.
Neither did the other couple, because they complained too. So we were both evicted at the same time.
Where in the history that you had, where does Joe DeVries come in? I know Joe's been around in this for a while.
Yeah, Joe is coming in right at 2015.
Yep.
I've been living on the
12
street.
years ago.
Yeah, I've been living on the street for over a year.
Hmm.
Had survived cancer surgery and treatment. And how I came across him was because of Nita B.
Ah.
Nita B was one of the big advocates locally, and she was on the news, KPIX, regularly. She started the Village at a piece of Oakland community property. It was a park right there on East 12th and 22nd, 23rd Avenue.
Hmm.
And they took over the park. Joe DeVries went down there and met up with Anita and says, "What the hell are you doing?" That was how he greeted her. If you ask her, that's how she's going to tell you he greeted her. And she's saying, "Well, we're setting up and helping the homeless people to survive." And at first, Joe kind of went along with it. He put 3 dumpsters down there, and then there was the urine and poop issue. So Nita was actually paying for the porta potties.
Hmm.
Then Joe,
Out of her own pocket.
yeah, out of her own pocket, which is she was running a 501c at already, which
Hmm.
was called the Village in Oakland.
Hmm.
And so it was running through that. And then Joe DeVries contacted the porta potty company and says, remove them. They're illegally on the property.
He did what?
He called them
To have them
and
removed.
have them removed. And then shortly after that, he removed all 3 dumpsters. And so that's when all the garbage issues started happening down there.
Ooh.
And then at the same time, Oakland was trying to clear out some of the other homeless camps, and some of them were pretty violent characters in there. And so Joe would tell people, "Hey, we've got a camp going down on East 12th and 23rd Avenue. Go down there." So he literally just told all the gang members and everybody, go to Nita's Village. Yeah. And
Like
that's,
he's trying to sabotage her.
yeah, he set up the narrative for Oakland's homeless situation as we know it today, with the crime, the vandalism, the murders, the fires. That's all Joe DeVries doing. He created that narrative and started that with Nita B. And then it came to me, because Nita, after I had joined HOG in 2018, excuse me, She said, Joe's coming after you. Watch out. 30 days later, the firebomb.
Hey, Derek, tell people what HOG is by what it stands
Okay,
for.
what HOG is, it's spelled HAWG, and what that is Homeless Advocacy Working Group. Who we are, we're over 500 members of Oakland who are residents, who are business owners, who are lawyers, architects, and also homeless and homeless advocates. And we also have people from our city council that join the meetings. And we come up with solutions, viable solutions, real solutions. What we see here in Oakland is an abomination of what could have been. I put forward one of the best models to Libby Shaft, and because we had our fallout, she claimed, even you can go back and look on the media news. My claim was self-governed communities. And if you go back, you'll see some interviews on major media asking her about what about self-governed communities. She said they will never happen in the city of Oakland as long as I'm mayor. That's how mad she was at me.
What was the substance of her anger? I mean, what I don't get.
Well, when before the media coverage that was supposed to happen, she talked with all of the members of my encampment. There were 32. We had gotten it down to 32 people, and she came to me. I was the last person that she arrived to, and she said, and she made a comment that just pissed me off. She said, "I'm sorry that your city let you down." I looked at her. I said, "Libby, city didn't let me down. You did."
Oh,
Oh man. Her face instantly went red. I said, "Uh-oh."
oh, Derek, you didn't say that.
You can ask Libby. That's what killed it.
Oh my God! Not that you were wrong. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I applaud your candor.
Libby and I had met several times at HOG meetings that used to be live or in person down at City Hall, just across from her office. And she would occasionally, attend or be in attendance or be the speaker for our HOG meeting. And we would be able to ask questions. That's where I met her, and also where I met Joe DeVries and a lot of the city administrators at these meetings when we used to do them in person at City Hall on back then it was Mondays or Tuesdays, yeah, and once a month. So but we got a lot done. But the thing that the city didn't want to do was move forward with a lot of our solutions, which could easily be supported and that we've put forward. And the homeless situation that we see right now would not be an abomination like what it is. Who they currently have in charge, which is Housing Consortium of the East Bay, Darren Lowndes, he runs prisons. He doesn't run shelters. He doesn't run temporary housing. He runs prisons. That's how they run it. And I give you an example.
And Darren Lau is again his title for
He
those.
is the executive director of HCEB. And what main
Which stands
contractor?
for HC. What does that stand?
Housing Consortium of the East Bay.
Okay, thank you.
And he City of Oakland just purchased Extended Stay America Hotel in Emeryville and converted it to Mandela House, and that this is temporary shelter. What Darren Lowndes has done, every one of those units at the former Extended Stay had kitchenettes and TVs. HCEB ripped all of them out of 121 rooms. That way, the folks that moved in there can't control the costs of food, they're fully dependent on HCEB for their meals.
Mm.
And HCEB does not have a kitchen. They rely on other funding to pay for those meals. And when they run out of funds, there are no meals. And that's been the biggest complaint that we get from HCEB year in, year out, that there's no meals or the staff are stealing the meals.
Mm.
Because staff steals the pizzas. When the pizzas show up, that's when they steal it.
Huh. My gosh.
But yeah, a lot of crooked things go on. Joe DeVries, like I said, this was in 2019, that picture, and that was a firebomb. This was
This
30
is a
days.
picture right here, right there.
That was
Tell
30
our viewers
days.
what they're looking at, by the way, Derrick.
What you're looking at is the remains of 4 shelters. 4 people were affected by this firebomb. Person came in at 4:30 in the morning, threw a firebomb into this area that had 4 shelters. Nobody had been doing anything wrong. These are good people, and 2 of the 4 people were women. How we knew, or we caught the arsonist, is my camp. One of the things that was present in my camp, we had a security staff 24/7. I headed that security staff, but our people, we used fire extinguishers, uh, uh, the uh, spray, the OC spray, and bats to control people. If somebody pulled out a gun or anything, they came, got me, and then that's when I took over. But our nighttime, early morning staff caught the arsonists. They came, got me, and I went to work on them, saying, why'd you do this? He said, I was told to. I was told to. And
the arsonist said he was told to.
yeah,
Wow.
we that's what he kept saying. He was told to do this. And I said, who told you? I can't tell you. I can't tell you. And after I broke his arm, then he told me. And then he said, Joe. And I said, Joe DeVries? And he just looked at me with big eyes. And he's screaming.
Let me focus on you. Say that again, please.
So after I broke his arm, to make him talk, he said, Joe. I said, Joe DeVries? And he said, yeah. And with his eyes. He didn't say it verbally, but he said it with his eyes, because his eyes just got really big and open.
Kind of like if we
like, you know who that is?
Like that.
Yeah. And I said, yeah, okay. How much did he pay you? Because Nita said he's paying people to do this.
No, Nita said that Joe DeVries was paying people to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Holy fick, holy.
And I mean, these are serious allegations. But then when this person said he got $100 to do this in my camp, and he said, I've never heard about your camp before, so I don't know you. And like I said,
and let me get this straight too for those listening. Derrick is saying not just Derrick is talking about this, but also is Nita B, right?
Yes, Nita will say the same thing.
Woo!
And many of us on at Hog have known this, because the coincidence, the numbers, the sheer numbers of fires that go on throughout Oakland. Wood Street is a community of its own. And yes, there are a lot of criminals down there, but then the numbers of fires, the most recent one that burned the bridge down there, we believe was Joe's doing. Because there was no reason for anybody to have a fire down there. The criminals had been controlled mostly, but yet when I turned on the fire or turned on my TV that morning and saw the fire going, I said, "Oh shit!" And I said, "That's got to be Joe," because there was no reason for that fire to occur that far and that deep into the camp, and it was directly underneath the freeway. So hold on, I'll be right back. Just a second. I've got a client here who needs something. Just be a moment.
Hey, folks, while he's going to do that, I want to share with you that there's he's only presenting the tip of the iceberg of some problems within the city. I also have a copy of an email. Uh, I can't say who the email is from or who it was written by. I can only say that it refers to Oakland Public Works. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will offer that that it claims, among other things, that that for example, Justin Johnson had been appointing $300,000 a year positions without advertising or interviewing anybody, um, and that the person who wrote this had said that I'm not going to continue to taking up the slack with no recognition or compensation while this fraud, abuse, and corruption continues unabated, and the miscreants are laughing at us and spitting in the faces of Oakland taxpayers. And that's about Oakland Public Works, okay, which is adjunctly related to what Derrick has to go through, and to some extent what Joe DeVries has to activate when he has photo parties removed, right? Yeah. I was sharing part of an email I got. I can't tell the whole thing, but
Here's the really bad part of everything that people don't realize is that Libby Shaft literally put Joe DeVries in charge of all the filings and reports at OPD. Joe DeVries in
Oakland Police
2019,
Department. Yeah.
Oakland Police Department was told not to file any homeless fire reports, theft reports, unless it had to do with murder. If there was a death, then there was a report. If there was a fire, there's no report. Even if there's witnesses, that that happened to me personally because when I was burned out in 2022, as you remember,
Absolutely.
I had the picture and the name of the arsonist. And the police, when I went to the police who were securing the area, and I said, I want to file a police report on who made me the fire victim there. And the police officer said, we don't do reports for the homeless on fires. And I said, what? He said, well, maybe go talk to the fire chief over there. I went over there to the fire chief. Fire chief said, no, we don't fire. We
Excuse me,
don't
Derek. Are
do.
they trying to get you guys exterminated or something?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're they're just exterminating us. Also, Joe DeVries put in place in 2019 a let it burn policy on the homeless camps, meaning that the police would show up within minutes, secure the area, but then they would call the fire department once the encampment was pretty much already burned down, uh, and that was part of the let it burn policy at from 2019 up to 2022, and at 25 minutes, that's when the police officer would call in the fire department and say, "Safe now for you to come in," and that's how they operated. No reports to be written by either police or fire department because they weren't going to be accepted because Joe DeVries said they are not to get filed.
Hey, one moment. Hold on a second. Go ahead, Derek. Sorry, I was just yeah.
And so, that was really serious. I said, how can people do that? You and it's just been crazy. But Joe DeVries, it has been writing the narrative of the homeless here in Oakland. If you want to know where your money's going, it's going to pay the police officers, the DPW workers, the equipment. Because think about this. The police stand around to supposedly crowd control. That's $1,500 an hour. $1,500 an hour. You get DPW, the crews and the equipment out there. You're looking at over $5,600 an hour to do the cleanup. Not to mention the dump fees. The dump fees typically are over $120,000. They did a whole week. Think about $120,000 times 5. And the city says they're broke. We don't have the budget for this. Well, they're spending our housing money on this. That's where our housing money is going.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's $600,000 you just clicked off right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Jeez.
And we had I had been close with Ruby Courtney, who was the city auditor for some time.
Courtney
And,
Rubin. Courtney Rubin.
Courtney Ruby, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And she really criticized Joe DeVries and the homeless department. It was a fiasco. They said there's no accountability. Nobody's accountable for anything in that department. They don't have any idea what the money is being spent on by the third-party intervention agencies, because the third-party intervention agencies aren't required to answer any of her questions, because they hide behind our privacy laws. We can't give you their names. We can't give you information as to where they went. That kind of stuff. And people wonder why Oakland has such a homeless problem. It's because of Joe DeVries, because he's been with the city leading the homeless narrative for so long. And if you notice, the narrative has only gotten worse.
Yeah. I read somewhere we spent almost $1 billion in 10 years, and the homeless problem has only went up.
Yep.
If not over. And
That's right.
the question has to be, how can you spend that much money, on a problem and it just persists? What's your answer to that?
We at HOG have come up with 2 solutions for housing homeless. One in West Oakland, and I have one sitting here for East Oakland. And it's the Caltrans property that I've been able to acquire through a court case. We won back in 2020.
Right,
And
congratulations.
we were ordered by the court judge, or actually Governor Newsom was ordered, to relinquish Caltrans Community Land Trust property for development. And so we were able to access all the list of properties. This was the most significant property in Oakland, 20 acres out by the Oakland Coliseum. And it's also parallels the 880 freeway. And so I've already cleared the federal aspect, which is the safety, and we're required to put in a sound and safety barrier wall, like what goes along most of Highway 880 in that area. So that's $12 million by itself.
Can I ask you a quick question while it's on my mind? I'm just going to cut to the chase here. Given what you told me about what Joe has done, and I have to say this, I said it before and I'll say it again. I have nothing personally against Joe DeVries. I went out with he and Justin Wolverman. We had a great time. But I never had to take an unflinching look at exactly what was going on. And I received a tip today that he would have been fired. And so that gets to, this, all right?
Yes.
But I'm going to ask you straight out, Derrick, something I hate to ask this question, but I got to ask it.
Sure.
Do you think that he should be arrested on the spot, and is there enough evidence to justify such an action?
There should be. It should have happened a long time ago. But right now, because the amount of time that's lapsed, and also the lack of evidence, which is the police reports and the fire reports, it'd be very difficult to pin Joe again. Uh, it was best when all the evidence was fresh and hot. Now, these we're over 5 years old on some of the stuff, 10 years old, and so none of it's admissible anymore.
Let me ask you another question. Let's take it from an entirely other view. Are there enough people willing to talk against him to trigger such an action?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt we can find enough people. That's not a problem at all. There's plenty of homeless folks that he's harmed. Mostly seniors. A lot of black seniors are
What?
been harmed by have been harmed by Joe DeVries. A lot of the seniors were over at the Alameda Avenue, the Home Depot. There was a section of seniors, and uh, I recently heard that the lady that was there, Miss Lee, an older, she was back in just 2020, she was 89. And so she just died this week at Wood Street, homeless, because also Boss closed up. They haven't been paid by the city of Oakland in almost a year.
Boss, that was
Building
Bill,
opportunities, building on self-sufficiency.
and Bunachina was
Mm-hmm.
the person who founded that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Buna. Yeah. Wow. Is
And
she still with
so
us? Is she still alive?
I don't I don't know. I haven't heard from her in quite some time.
Wow.
But Miss Lee passed away this last week. It's the word that I got, and she was at Wood Street, and she was uh, under the Boss property. But there's nobody there. None of the staff have been dismissed because there's no money to pay them. And so the site is closing up this month, I believe, at the end of the month. And so you have people. There were 100 people there.
Mhm,
100.
mhm,
None of them got homes.
mhm.
And this is why I say the homeless situation in Oakland is an abomination. I welcome the changes by Mayor Barbara Lee. Now that we hope that we have an ear that is going to listen to what's happening, what's really happening, and we can show Barbara Lee what's happening. And we have the representatives. Nita B is an incredible advocate for all the homeless here in Oakland. Yeah. And I do my part. That's why I represent East Oakland. That's why I call myself the East Oakland advocate, because I am. I speak for East Oakland. I speak for over 350 people out here. And my food pantry that I run every day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., I have people coming all the time. I have people that come from outside of the area, San Leandro, who are struggling on food issues. And we're able to take care of a lot of people. We usually uh, take care of about 30 to 40 people on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, which are our main distribution days. But we're open every day and able to give out food in emergencies. So that's been going really well. I've been operating that for the past month now, and the need
Congratulations.
has just been growing. And we've got some great donors.
All right, Derek, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, right.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So anyway, wow. I have to just say, I was blowing us away over here.
We've been lobbying for years to remove Joe DeVries, um, and for whatever reason, that all the administrations just kept them on. And then we got Shang Tao. Shang Tao was even worse. She wouldn't even talk to us at Hog. She wouldn't schedule meetings. She wouldn't even acknowledge us. And we had serious questions as to why she had promoted Joe DeVries at that time to where he was, and because he had done so much harm to the community. But then she didn't even want to talk to us. So the corrupt Oakland political machine is alive and well, but hopefully that now changes with Barbara Lee, and that now Barbara is bringing the community in. I'm happy with that. We have Nita B, who will be personally sitting down and speaking with Barbara Lee on Wednesday, because she announced that last week at our Hog meeting and said that she was personally sitting down with Barbara Lee on a one-on-one to discuss the homeless situation and bring up the topic of solutions. And we have housing solutions that we've brought to the city leaders, but they don't want to hear it because they don't want a permanent housing solution. They want a 2-year program or less. That's what we're told. And unfortunately, we can't move forward without their consent and the building permits. We have the funds. The funds are already there. Measure W has over $500 million sitting in there since 2021, and the city or Alameda County supervisors back in April were talking about redirecting $390 million of that away from homeless housing. That's what they're voting on. We're going to be at the administration building this coming week because BOSS, the Board of Supervisors, is convening this week on this matter.
County, right.
Yeah, and so we're saying no. You are not taking $390 million out of this because the housing situation is desperately critical here in Oakland, and we need to build those solutions right now. One of the solutions is my project over by the Coliseum. Mm-hmm. We have another project in West Oakland that would house about 150 to 200 families. My project over here would house 500 families. The property that is behind me right now, which I told you about earlier, AT&T service yard here in Oakland, is leaving.
Right, so they're going to do a little drive. Right.
This is 4 city blocks that they're abandoning because of the crime, the thefts, and one of their nighttime unarmed security guard was shot and killed last Memorial weekend. Not this year, but last year, 2024. And so they just said no, and they have a building that they haven't been able to use for 2 years because it was burned up because a homeless RV trailer was sitting right outside and burned the whole side of the building. And so the smoke damage destroyed that.
As we draw to a close, we've been on for almost an hour. Tell people, because I get a report that Joe's fired. I got a conflicting. I'm not going to repeat it because it was one source. It wasn't directly to me, so I'm not comfortable with it. But if Barbara Lee or your chief of staff sees this, what would you like them to know in brief? Why do you believe Joe should be removed?
Joe has done so much harm, and if you want to reverse the the homeless crisis as we know it today. Joe DeVries is the puppeteer of what's going on in the city of Oakland in the homeless community. He has been harmful to us. Uh, uh, while he didn't directly kill people, he did kill people. And he paid for them. He paid people to assassinate people.
Whew.
He paid for arsonists to come in and throw fire bombs. You hear on the news fires in West Oakland,
Mm-hmm.
fires in the Fruit Vale, fires in East Oakland. Well, not all of them are the homeless being careless. There are areas that Oakland is targeting. They are targeting certain areas because they want these people removed.
All right, Derrick. Hey, stick around in the backstage. Wow. We're going to have you back for more.
All
And
right.
everybody, subscribe to Zennie62 on YouTube and bookmark oaklandnewsonline.com and zenniereport.com. And also subscribe to Derrick Soo's channel. He's a great vlogger. Honored to have him as part of our company. So it's just been for some time. And all right, that ends this broadcast. Derrick, don't go anywhere. That
All
ends this
right.